Hi, this is Kendall Boyson, professional life and recovery coach, and you're listening to Encouragementology, the practice of instilling hope. Hi there. Thanks for joining me. On this show, we're asking, what if your setback isn't the end of the road, but a setup for something greater? Too often we treat failure like a stop sign, something to fear, avoid, or be ashamed of. But what if it's actually a signpost pointing us toward a better path, one we couldn't have seen without the detour? This week, we're flipping the script on disappointment and getting curious about the hidden wisdom in rejection, reroutes, and redirections. Think about a time when something didn't go your way, and now you're secretly or loudly grateful. That job you didn't get, the relationship that fizzled, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers. Maybe that wasn't a failure, but a filter. We'll explore the difference between giving up and giving in, and how to know when you're resisting growth or simply being rerouted to a better destination. Let's dive in. We'll start by unpacking a few key terms and ideas that will help frame the rest of our conversation. Setback. What is that? A setback is typically defined as an interruption in progress, a problem or delay that keeps you from moving forward as planned. It's that moment when things don't go according to script and you feel like you've hit a wall. Most of us interpret a setback as failure, rejection, or a signal to give up. But what if that interruption is really a signal to pause, recalibrate, or shift direction? Now let's define setup. When we say a setup, we're talking about a reframing of perspective. Instead of viewing the problem as a block, we start to see it as preparation, a moment meant to teach us, shape us, or even protect us from something we can't see. A setup can feel frustrating in real time, but it's often that pivot point we later recognize as essential. Then we have this idea of giving up versus giving in. These two sound similar, but have very different meanings. Giving up means you stop trying, you throw in the towel, you close the book, walk away from the possibility. Giving in, however, is a more nuanced choice. It means you adjust. You yield to a new reality or modify the path, not because you're weak, but because you're willing to grow. It's not quitting the goal. It's choosing a wiser way forward. It's all about reframing failure. This is where the mindset shift begins. Instead of labeling failure as the end, we see it as a necessary part of success. Many people we admire failed multiple times before finding their true direction. Reframing means we no longer fear failure. We learn from it. We use it. By grounding ourselves in these definitions, we give ourselves the freedom to move through life's plot twists with a bit more grace, and maybe even a little optimism. Let's face it, when life throws a wrench in our carefully laid plans, it's easy to slip into discouragement. We might question our path, our value, or even our entire purpose. But before we label the moment as a complete failure, what if we pause to ask, is this a setback, or could it be a setup for something even better? Let's walk through a few self-inquiry questions to explore how you typically react to roadblocks and whether you're more prone to giving up or giving in. Number 1, what's your default response to disappointment? When something you hoped for doesn't work out, what's your knee-jerk reaction? Do you tend to avoid, deflect, push harder, or overthink? Can you remember a time when you thought something was a failure only to later realize it was a redirection? Number 2, do you define failure as final? When things go off course, do you see it as the end or simply a detour? How do you talk to yourself in moments of frustration? Are you compassionate or critical? If a friend was in your shoes, what would you say to them? Number 3, how do you tell the difference between letting go and giving up? Think about a time when you walked away from something. Did it feel like relief or regret? What's the emotional difference between quitting and making a conscious pivot in your eyes? If this didn't work out, could there be something better on the horizon? This isn't about sugarcoating the tough stuff. It's about reframing it. Some endings are necessary. Some closed doors lead us to better paths. The trick is knowing when you're walking away because it's right and not just because it's hard. Let these questions simmer for a bit. Maybe journal them out or bring them up in conversation with somebody you trust. Sometimes clarity comes in dialogue, not just in quiet reflection. And hey, if these questions stirred something in you, don't just let it fade. That's exactly why each Encouragementology episode now comes with a 5-day journaling companion. It's your chance to go deeper, reflect honestly, and coach yourself forward one day at a time. You'll find it in the show notes, ready when you are. Now that we've reflected on our response to setbacks, let's dig into the idea of letting go, a powerful act that turns roadblocks into stepping stones. Mike Robbins shares a poignant story about learning to float on his back in a pool. It felt awkward, even frightening at first, but once he surrendered control, he discovered freedom. That moment taught him how much we cling to the illusion of controlling life, even when it costs us joy, peace, and connection. Do you struggle with control? I mean, who doesn't? Mike said, if you're anything like me and many people I know, letting go of control might be a challenge. I had a simple but profound experience in the swimming pool a while back, learning to float on my back for the first time in my life. I do know how to swim and enjoy being in the water, but for some reason, I was never able to figure out how to float on my back when I learned to swim as a kid. And as an adult, it hasn't been something that's come up as an issue in my life. Thanks to the help of a friend who coached me, I was able to let go and allow the water to support me. It felt scary at first, but it was an incredibly liberating and relaxing experience once I figured it out. As I was floating there in the pool, I had many thoughts, feelings, and insights, the biggest of which had to do with my obsession with controlling things and my struggle with letting things go. Would you consider yourself very controlling, moderately controlling, or not controlling at all? Control is an issue that can get in our way, especially in the most important and stressful areas of life and work. To understand why letting go of control may be hard for us, we must take a look at the underlying causes. Many beliefs and experiences can lead us to hold on tight and feel the need to control others, situations, circumstances, money, communications, our teams, workflows, details, or work environment, and various other aspects of our lives. However, here are 3 things that are usually underneath our controlling tendency. Fear. We worry that things won't turn out, we'll get hurt, bad things will happen, etc. Unworthiness. We don't feel as though we deserve support, help, or for things to go our way. Lack of trust. We're scared to let go, count on others, and believe that things will be okay without us managing every aspect of the situation, relationship, conversation, etc. When it comes to leadership and teamwork, specifically, it's essential to trust those around you, because if you don't trust your team, you will lose control. There is a huge cost associated with control. This negative impact is not only on us and our well-being, but also on those we love, the people we work with, and everyone around us. Here are some of the biggest costs: joy, peace, freedom, energy, creativity, support, ease, connection, love, collaboration. How can we expand our capacity to let go of control? There are many things we can do to let go of control. With compassion for ourselves, it's important to remember that this is a process and something, especially for some of us, that may not come easy at all. Many of us have been literally trained, directly or indirectly, to be controlling. And in specific environments and situations like at work or at home, being controlling has been encouraged or seemed necessary for our survival and the survival of those around us. That being said, here are some things you can do and think about to expand your capacity to let go of control in a positive and liberating way. Be honest with yourself. Make an authentic assessment of how control shows up for you. It probably varies a bit for you, as it does for most of us. But at the same time, we all have certain tendencies, especially in the most critical and stressful areas of our lives. With empathy and honesty, take a look at where, how, and why you hold on tightly to control in whatever way you do. Be honest with yourself about what this costs and how it impacts you and those around you. Ask yourself, am I willing to let go of control? This is an important question to ponder and to answer honestly. In some cases and situations, the answer to this question may be no. It's important to honor that if that's the case for you. And at the same time, the more willing you are to ask and answer this question, the more likely you are to start letting go of control consciously, assuming it is something you're genuinely interested in doing. You may not know how to do it or what it looks like, but authentic willingness is always the first step in positive change. Consider who could support you. Getting support is one of the most important and often most vulnerable aspects of letting go of control. Even though we sometimes feel like we're all alone and no one gets it, or that we couldn't possibly make ourselves vulnerable enough to ask for help, especially in certain areas of life, it's challenging to let go of control without the support of other people. The irony of asking for help is that many of us don't feel comfortable doing so and fear it makes us look weak or needy. And on the flip side, most of us love to be asked for help and enjoy helping others. We can't do it alone. The good news is that we usually have lots of people in our lives who would jump at the chance to support us if we were just willing to ask for their help. Surrender. Surrendering, which is the bottom line of letting go of control, doesn't mean giving up or not caring. It means trusting and allowing things to be taken care of by others, by the process, and by the universal intelligence governing life. Some call this God. Some call this spirit. Some don't call it anything. But most of us have an experience of it at some level. Surrendering isn't about consciously choosing to trust and have faith. It's something that can liberate us in a profound way and is all about us choosing to let go. And while it's important to trust ourselves, sometimes it's even more important to surrender and trust that things will work out in one way or another. When we look back on our lives in hindsight, we usually see that things happen for a reason. What if we lived in the present moment with this same hindsight awareness? Letting go of control is about loosening our grip, allowing ourselves to be supported, and trusting that things will turn out as they are meant to. Is this easy? Not usually. But as we practice this and expand our capacity to let go, we'll be able to release and transform a good amount of unnecessary stress, worry, and anxiety from our lives, our work, and our relationships. In a nutshell, Mike uses the pool as a metaphor for life. When we fight the water, stay rigid, and cling tight, we sink. But when we relax into surrender, even just for a moment, we discover support, freedom, and clarity. He points out that our need for control often costs us our energy, our well-being, and joy. Letting go isn't defeat. It's a choice to trust the process, create space, and allow something better to flow in. It's the difference between resisting the current and discovering how to surf. All right, so we've challenged the idea that a setback is a signal to stop. What if it's actually life pointing you towards something better? If we want to shift from disappointment to growth, we need a new playbook, one that helps us process, pivot, and progress with purpose. Let's break that down into a practical 3-step action plan. Are you ready? Get a pen, a little paper, maybe the notepad on your phone, and let's get started. Step 1, acknowledge without judgment. Before you can move forward, you have to look honestly at what didn't work. What happened? What did you expect? That's a big one. What were your expectations going into something? That's where we feel the most disappointment. How did it make you feel? This is not about blaming yourself or anyone else. This is about naming the moment so it stops lingering in the shadows. The clearer you are about what happened, the more confident you'll feel about what comes next. Here's a journaling prompt. The setback I keep replaying in my mind is, and I think it still bothers me because. The setback I keep replaying in my mind is, and I think it still bothers me because. Step 2, reframe the story. Now it's time to do something powerful. Change the narrative. Ask yourself, what could this experience have been protecting me from? What did I learn that I didn't know before? How might this be setting me up for something better? You are the narrator of your life. Just because something didn't go the way you hoped doesn't mean it was the wrong direction. Sometimes a detour leads to the destination we were meant for. Step 3, choose your next micro move. Progress doesn't have to be massive. In fact, it usually isn't. What is one small, doable, non-scary thing you can do this week to keep moving forward? Can you text someone for support? Revisit a paused project? Say yes or no with intention. Setbacks lose their power when we keep moving forward. Even a single step can shift you from feeling stuck to feeling in motion. This action plan isn't about pretending the setback didn't hurt. It's about deciding it won't define you. You're not what didn't happen. You're who you're becoming because of how you respond. Now, let's zoom in on the lessons tucked inside that uncomfortable moment of rejection, the no, that makes our stomach drop. In Dr. Aliosh Gersoner's article, The Value of No, he shows us how rejection isn't just pain, it's feedback, resistance building, and redirection rolled into one. The value of no. I've been rejected so many times that I've lost count. Internships, jobs, scholarships, master degree spots, a children's book, journal articles, seminars, and let's not forget friends and dates. In fact, when I wrote this post, I had received 3 major rejections within 7 days. One from a major psychological journal, one from a university regarding a postdoc position, and one from a potentially lucrative client regarding a seminar on stress and resilience. It would seem that I collect rejections like other people collect stamps or vacation pictures. Of course, I don't, and being rejected hurt every single time. And yet, there is some value to rejections that I hope to point out here. Before I get to that, let's talk about why rejections hurt. First of all, rejection is often linked to hope. In order to be rejected, we begin with a goal or an invitation. At the end of this action lies the hope of a better future, a new job, a date, entry to a selected group. When we were rejected, that hope in its particular shape dies. One door closes, as the saying goes. The second reason rejections hurt is that many of us have internalized the belief that we are worthy when we achieve things and when we perform. When we fail or don't reach our goals, we often feel less worthy. This nagging feeling that comes from the belief that we're not good enough is shame. Third, rejections hurt because they can dampen our sense of purpose. Assume you want to be an actor. You take classes, go to auditions, and hear no every single time. Even the most enduring among us would eventually have doubts if this was truly our path. As Brené Brown writes, shame is the fear of disconnection. And this brings me to the fourth and final reason why rejections hurt so much. Being rejected can lead to feelings of being lonely. An extreme version of rejection is ostracism, when an individual is expelled from a group. Research shows that ostracism triggers the same neural pathways as physical pain, namely the dorsal region of the anterior cingulate cortex. Before I talk about potential upsides or lessons of getting rejected, let me make a couple of general observations. First, rejections and acceptance, no's and yeses, are not like a soccer match where you have to score more points than your opponent. In life and in our jobs, one yes at the right moment from the right opportunity can make up for the 100 no's. Harry Potter was rejected by 12 publishers before Bloomsbury picked it up. In one writing, Stephen King tells the story of how he pinned every rejected letter on a wall. By the age of 14, the nail could no longer support the weight of his rejection letters, and the installation came crashing to the floor. Second, let's talk about what we get rejected for. Are you getting rejected for the right things? What matters to you? Getting rejected for things that you really want to do is better than getting rejected for things your parents or other society wants you to do. Also, it pays to remember that not all endeavors are equally worthy. Perhaps gathering 100,000 Instagram followers isn't the best way to measure your success. And finally, never getting rejected may be less than ideal. If you never get rejected, You're likely deep in your comfort zone and personal growth rarely happens. If you hear yes at every single career stage, you probably didn't reach high enough. If you never hear no, chances are you didn't take many risks, or you're just exceptionally talented, lucky, or both. With these remarks out of the way, what can we learn from getting rejected? Number 1, in a career and dating context, rejections are a feedback mechanism. If we knock on enough doors and sometimes hear yes and sometimes hear no, we can learn how the market of supply and demand currently values what we have to offer. Knowing exactly where we stand can provide us with insights for better decisions. Do we need to improve, or do we just need to roll the dice some more? If we're lucky, rejections come in more words than a simple no and offer some kind of reason why it was a no this time. If you don't hear or see this reason right away, it might be a good idea to ask. Number 2, rejections can build resilience. If we go through life smooth sailing with nothing ever going wrong, or perhaps our parents shielding us from adversity, we don't learn how to cope with setbacks. The first rejections usually hurt the most, but as we go through life hearing some yeses and nos, it becomes easier to cope with the nos. If we can learn to view ourselves as individuals who are worthy of love and belonging, regardless of our achievements, it becomes easier. Number 3, rejections can build character. Hearing no every now and then can help us stay grounded and develop humility. If we have a growth mindset, we can find motivation from rejections to try a bit harder as our abilities are not fixed in time but change with effort and strategy. Number 4, rejections are obstacles on the way to success. When we follow our passions and dreams, we're often trying something difficult. If it wasn't difficult, it wouldn't feel as important or worth doing. Because what we're doing is hard, we're going to fail. We must walk through the no's to get to the yeses. If J.K. Rowling had given up after getting rejected 12 times, there would be no Harry Potter. Instead, she said she would try until every single publisher turned her down, fearing that might in fact happen. In this way, rejections are necessary or at least a byproduct to succeed. Rejections feel like a punch in the gut or like a sting of a bee. The important thing is that we learn to try again and not get discouraged. In a nutshell, think of a rejection like a bouncer at a club. It might feel personal, but really it's just a sign you're trying to enter the wrong place at the wrong time. Dr. Dressorner explains that a no doesn't mean you're not enough. It simply means that this isn't the right match, setup, or timing. He reminds us that rejection can actually strengthen our character, sharpen our focus, and eventually lead us to a better yes. Plus, he shares that getting told no too often means you're trying, and that's way better than not trying at all. Sometimes writing it down is the only way to see it clearly. We carry the weight of our disappointments and perceive failures like emotional clutter, always there, taking up space, but never really sorted through. So let's do some unpacking. If something didn't go your way, it doesn't automatically mean it wasn't meant to go another way. The pen can be a powerful tool to reveal what's hidden behind the fog of frustration. So, take a moment, walk through these journaling prompts, no pressure. It's not about getting it right. It's just about being honest and open with yourself. Prompt 1. Describe a setback that still stings. What did you want to happen? What actually happened? And how did you react emotionally and physically in the days or weeks that followed? Describe a setback that still stings. Prompt 2. Now, step back. What did you learn about yourself from that experience? Was there anything positive that came of it, even if it took time to see? Could this no have been a redirection toward something better? Take a step back and look. Prompt 3. Imagine if it had worked. Where would you be now? Would you have had to compromise something important? Your values, your time, your identity? Can you now appreciate the detour for what it might have protected you from? Imagine if it had worked out. Remember, growth isn't always loud or visible. Sometimes it's in the quiet, honest moments when you admit what hurt, but also see how it helped. Now, before we close out today's episode, I want to share a compelling message from Brendon Burchard, renowned high-performance coach and #1 New York Times bestselling author whose advice reaches millions worldwide. He talks about how to deal with disappointment. He reminds us that disappointment isn't a sign of failure. It's an invitation to learn and grow. Brendon challenges us to lean into life's messy moments, expect the struggle, and use each setback as fuel to move forward stronger and wiser. Take a moment to listen in. Let his words sink in.
I'm always asked by people, Brendon, how do you deal with disappointment? And I always wonder why they're asking that. I'm like, they think I'm disappointed a lot? I mean, have I failed so much in my life so publicly that it's obvious that I must be disappointed with something? Maybe they just see my face and they must say, when he looks in the mirror, he must be quite disappointed in the morning. I never really know why they ask that. I think it's kind of a funny thing, right? I think disappointment, it's unfortunate that so many people actually even think about it or struggle with it at all. I think when you reach another level of sort of the conscious plane, you start to realize that all disappointment is make-believe, that there is nothing to be disappointed about, that everything that turned out today is as it should be by the universe's edict. And when you learn to allow and accept reality as it is today, based on where you are and what has happened, then it's not a bad thing, and there's nothing wrong or negative to feel about it. Some people, here's how they want to deal with it though. They're going to tell you all the time, oh, I know how to handle your disappointments. You know what you need to do? You need to set lower expectations. Your expectations, young woman, are too high for yourself. So when you don't do well, you should feel disappointed. And naturally you would feel disappointed because you know what? You need to lower your standards. And I'm like, what? No, everything that has made humanity great was setting high standards and having high visions for ourselves. There is nothing wrong with expecting a lot of ourselves. You should expect a lot of yourselves. I expect a lot from you. I expect a lot from myself. If we didn't expect a lot from ourselves, we would all be outside humping furniture somewhere, right? We would be in jail. All of us would be doing blow and being crazy all the time. That's not life, right? There's nothing respectful or intelligent about that at all. Like, yes, have high standards. Yes, have high ideals. Absolutely have high visions, big dreams for yourself. Go for the gold. Why not? There's nothing wrong with that. But understand that it's not going to be perfect or ever have any sense of perfection along the way. To know that it's going to be a sloppy, big, ugly mess. To anticipate the struggle, to anticipate the hardship, to anticipate the learning allows you to decouple from the negative emotions associated with quote unquote disappointment, right? If I know whatever I'm gonna put out there is not exactly perfect, cool. If I know whatever I put out there, it's going to be part of my learning journey. I'm gonna study it, I'm gonna be attentive to it. I'm knowing it's never gonna be my best yet. That, perfection doesn't happen ever. We can always be perfecting things, but we'll never reach perfection. And knowing that now, if you realize you'll never reach perfection, then you should never feel disappointment. Makes sense, right? There's nothing in me that says it has to be perfect. It says, I'm gonna do my best, I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna iterate, I'm gonna innovate, I'm gonna get better and better and better and better. And along that learning journey, things will be good. And I'll accept that, as I do them and do my best, that the universe will reward me as it should. I think disappointment, that's just something that's self-invented in your own mind. Oh, I feel bad for myself. Well, I bet you feel bad about yourself in a million different ways. So does that have to win today? Does that have to stop your progress? There's a million reasons to be pessimistic, upset, angry, frustrated, regretful about life. Do any of those 5 things serve you in any way at all? No. To realize that disappointment is disappointment is really a disservice to yourself. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with your progress in life. It has nothing to do. Can we be dissatisfied? Sure, but why? I'm satisfied with the day. I'm satisfied with this video. This shirt's ugly as hell. I'm satisfied with it. Here I am talking to you. Everything's fine. Everything's working out just great, right? You have to allow the universe to be what it is. You have to allow yourself to feel satisfaction. That's called being present. If I can be satisfied and accepting of this moment, I can be present in it. If I'm dissatisfied all the time, wandering around, dissatisfied, disappointed, disrupted, upset, what's gonna happen for me? What's my life going to be like? So you have to look at these emotions and you have to look at these things and ask, are these, if they're in any way negative and if they're in any way recurring, that your consciousness, your ability to direct your own will can say, you know what? I'm gonna decide today not to let that win. I'm gonna decide today to stop pouring so much energy into this belief that these things are disappointing. And instead, I'm gonna focus on what have I learned here? And be excited about the learning. Be excited about the mastery. I'm never disappointed because I'm too damn excited about the mastery being gained. Makes sense, right? How weird is that? People, aren't you disappointed with what? I'm learning a lot. Well, aren't you disappointed with that launch didn't turn out well, or you didn't sell 1 million copies on the first thing? I'm like, no, I did my best. Let's see how it goes. Let's learn, let's get better next time. Having a learning mindset prevents you from being disappointed. So, what did you learn today?
If you want to share encouragementology with a friend who needs to know they're not alone in this journey of self-discovery, you can visit encouragementology.com or anywhere you stream your content to receive this episode and all others. Check out the show notes for the 5-day journaling companion and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for additional encouragement throughout the week. So I challenge you, stop labeling your setbacks as stop signs and start seeing them as scenic detours, opportunities to learn, grow, and arrive even more prepared. Trade the urge to give up for the courage to give in, to adapt, realign, and continue your journey with wisdom and grace. I know you can do it. Thank you for listening to Encouragementology with Kendall Boyson, where we find positive ways to handle some of life's challenges.
I stumbled through until the path was clear.